Over the last few years, enterprise collaboration apps and video conferencing apps has been skyrocketing in use in almost any sector. However, there still remains a few challenges for the people who use them, especially in the area of etiquette and rules about how and best practices about how to use these tools. Today we have Daryl Riva, who is Vice President of Cloud Services for Mitel. And with his long experience in the use of collaboration and conferencing tools, he's here to provide us with some tips and tricks on how to better use the tools we have in our offices these days. Hello, Daryl.
Hi, it's great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, right now we're vote on audio conferencing tool that we're using, and perhaps it's very apt that we should discuss what are the best ways to use this. Sometimes there are some etiquette that needs to be applied to these modern technologies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you take a step back and maybe take a macro view, there's really a couple of pressing um, larger pillars that are helping to drive this. Number one is 2017, welcome to the year of instant gratification. And really, this is driven by everything from access to technology to the use of the smartphone in our hand. It's quite an interesting time where our consumer technology is helping to drive new business technologies, which is quite the role reversal from the previous 10 to 20 years in the communication space.
Mitel is right in the middle of this. Care to talk about Mitel first before we plunge into the tips and tricks?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been with Mitel for a little over 15 months now, and it is absolutely known as the powerhouse in the telephony market space. We've taken that heritage and lineage of technology and investment in R&D and have been able to move it into the cloud space in the early 2000s. And we like the self-proclaimed title of Godfather of the Cloud. So as you take a look at what we are able to do with our customers, what's most important is that not only can we provide multiple deployment models that meets their needs, we can also ensure and future-proof their technology investments as they continue their own migrations from premise to cloud at their own pace, something that not only works for their own organizations, but also works for their budget.
Yes. So now that we have these terrific cloud-enabled applications that allow us to work together as a team through the cloud, video conferencing, teleconferencing tools that allow uh, people from halfway across the world to almost be together in the same room, talking about their plans. There are still some challenges. Could you care to tell us some of the issues that people run into when using these, as you said, instant gratification tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So I manage a team that is located all around the globe, everywhere from Sweden to Eastern and Western Europe as well. And the most important aspect of the communications that we have today is ensuring that we can not only increase employee productivity, but also challenge how quickly we can take product solutions ideas to market. And the best way to really to approach this, the always comes back to, well, how can we communicate? How can we as a team ensure that we have the right information in order to make the right decisions? And so that comes back to ensuring that from a communications perspective, we are all very closely tied together, but more so in a fashion that is right for that user. And what I mean by that is, if you take a look at, going back to the etiquette, some people on my team just prefer to, transact via email. Others like to use our unified communications applications, our team collaboration applications called My Team. And what we've been able to do in an environment is actually reduce the amount of emails. Up to 44% of emails for specific projects can go by the wayside now because we have certain team collaboration applications that allow us to communicate much more effectively.
Yeah, very interesting point. And what does it mean to an organization, to a team, when you can cut down the amount of emails that are shuttling back and forth?
Absolutely. I'll give you a quick use case. We have a platform, an event called Mitel Next. And this event was happening earlier in the year in San Diego. And we were on the verge of launching some new products. And at the last minute, we had an idea of bringing together a customer use case and showing demo examples of it, which drove our ability to set up an extension of our communications, and our team really are the agencies and vendors that we work with. So not only is it important to drive the communication within the organization, but we are also able to extend that productivity enhancement tools outside of the organization to our vendors, which allowed us to complete our task of delivering new videos and demos of these products just in time for our platform launch called Mitel Next. Any other way, that project would have taken 2 to 3 times longer, just due to the fact that you're typically playing email tag or you're playing voicemail tag. The opportunity to embed presence into a unified communications application, whether it's your desktop or on your mobile device, is truly a game changer in employee and vendor productivity.
Terrific point there. And when we're using these technologies, it's still communication, person to person communication that has their sort of basic principles that we have to follow. But then sometimes the communications gets bogged down, confusion arises, or even sometimes people get angry a lot of times when they're emailing because it's very hard to transmit the true feelings of a person when they're using email or these tools because we're not able to see the visual cues that we usually see when we're talking to a person right in front of us. Would you care to share with us some of your 7 tips and tricks for the average office worker and how to use these collaboration tools?
Sure. Let me start by talking through kind of chaos breeds opportunity. The fact that through text messaging, we're not able to really denote sarcasm built into the messaging. So an entire new form of communication was created called emojis.
Mm-hmm.
So texting paired with emojis, some of which are quite interesting, and maybe not reflective of productive communication, but nonetheless, an entirely new language has been created to assist in the way that both consumers and businesses alike may choose to interact. And so some of the things that I want to talk through today really that's based on the pillar and the platform of chaos breeds opportunity, and which is why we have seen such a thrive of this unified communications applications in the workspace. So, one of the things I'd like to kind of start off with is if you think through an employee going on vacation, and again, depending on the culture and maybe depending on the employee's boss, there's rules and regulations for respecting that employee's space. And when it comes to communicating through these applications, presence, and that's the ability to detect whether or not somebody is available for either chat or conference or video conference, that respecting someone's presence is going to be of vital importance. Because, like I said, if an employee was out on vacation, how many times would you try to connect with them, and which means would you try to connect with them, or would you try to do it at all? And the same thing goes for your ability to track an employee down or a project down via the status or the presence of that employee. So, for example, there is a lot of intuition that's built into the Mitel application, uh, whether or not you've had a keystroke in a certain amount of time, whether or not your calendar integration shows that you're currently in a meeting, whether or not you are currently on the phone. These are just a small example of a few types of integration that would set your presence to which we would ask, or the general etiquette would ask, to respect their presence capabilities.
I see. So sort of the machine has the system has a way of judging whether you might be indisposed at the moment. You're not in your front of your desk or not online. You're probably on a vacation or probably you're probably not working today. So it will be up to the person who wants to contact you. Gives them a heads up, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if your application says that you are currently unavailable, what are the different means of communication that other people would go to? What's the extent that they would go to try and reach you? Now, that could be via email, that could be via phone call, and that phone call could then be, forwarded along to your mobile device. It could be a text message. But at the heart of it, I think if people really begin to leverage and utilize the presence capabilities of these applications, more people would learn to respect them. So I think out of the gate, that's a really important foundation to build upon. If somebody has a do not disturb message as their presence, respect that. Learn to understand that your emergency might not be somebody else's emergency.
I see. So respect each other's presence or ability to be able to respond to your message at that instance that you're thinking of sending it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we kind of move on to the second phase of that, is it's really understanding the culture in a small business. If they're all centrally located in an office, standing up and yelling over a cube might be a pretty disrespectful way to communicate with an employee. The same thing goes with immediately starting a video collab session, right? It's very intrusive. And so the ability to escalate communications, starting with a chat and moving through a phone call to a whiteboard session, to a collaboration session, to a video conference session, there's certain steps that are more polite than sending over a video conference invite immediately, to where the person might not be in the best disposition to accept that video call.
All right.
And we've all heard stories, right? We've all heard stories of that one person that may be working from home that day and is not dressed suitable for the current presentation that they're giving.
Yeah, we've seen the TV commercial of that. It's an interesting point that you put forward. The use not only one communication tool, but several tools, and you're introducing sort of a hierarchy of usage of these tools. Thanks a lot for joining our show today.